Great. Well, we're so happy to see all of you who are with us. My name is Mary Burley. I'm the Chief Educator at the Norman Rockwell Museum, and we are really excited to be with Jeff Mack today. Jeff is an author and an illustrator, and with permission from Holiday House, he's going to share one of his new books called Just a Story. And he's also going to make some art with us, and we are really looking forward to your questions as well. Jeff has made many books, and he's also illustrated or done the art for even more than that. And all of you parents out there, you can check out jeffmack.com to learn more about his books. But there's a few things that I want especially the kids to know as we start. When Jeff was little, he really loved to draw, but he couldn't make his pictures look exactly how he wanted, so he kept practicing. And he really wanted to design pinball machines and robots that would serve tomato soup. And that's what he was excited about when he was about your age. And people told him that his early stories could not happen. And he said, that is why I'm writing about it. Anything can happen in a story. And I think that's a really helpful thing to remember. And as all of us are staying home, being safe for COVID, we just wanted to remind you that you can go anywhere in your imagination. And Jeff is really good at inviting us to do that. And he would say that writing and drawing are the ways to make the impossible possible. Jeff's fourth grade teacher encouraged him to make really gross monster poems. And he really appreciated that because that encouraged him. And a fun fact is that every time Jeff finishes a book, he feels like it's his favorite book. And then he starts another book. And we just love that idea. So Jeff, we're so glad that you're with us today and are grateful that you're going to share all about how you make books and that you're going to share Just a Story.
Great. Thank you so much, Mary. Thanks for that awesome introduction. And hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. It's great to see everybody up here. Or I can see many of you. Some of you I can't see, but I can see names. So I know you're there.
And we love it when you wave.
And so let me get started. Today, I want to talk with you about my newest book called Just a Story. All right. And if I share my screen, it will be easier for me to share it with you than if I was turning the pages of the book on the screen. So let me do that. Great. And then my face should be up on the corner so you can see me reading it, right? Okay. So these right here, these are the books that I have written and illustrated. And what that means is I have drawn the pictures for these books and I've written the words for these books, right? So those are two different jobs. And I love the way those two jobs work together to tell a story. So these are the books that I have illustrated for other authors. And this is kind of like, you know, if you have a friend who writes a story and they ask you to draw the pictures for it, this is a lot like me doing that, except in this case, the friends who have written these books, I often don't even meet these authors. These authors live in all different states around the US, and they send their stories to a publishing company. And the publishing company, that's the place where they make books, they ask me if I'd like to make the pictures to go along with those stories. So this is my newest book right here, and it's called Just a Story. And it's a pretty weird cover, right? Something strange is going on in that cover. Can you see something coming out of that book that probably doesn't normally come out of a book? It looks kind of like, what do you think it looks like? Yeah, it looks like an elephant trunk, right? Okay, so that's the front of the book. And this right here, this is the back cover of the book. Okay, so keep an eye on this character. Who does that character look like to you? Kind of like a grandmother or something. And do you see somebody sitting next to that grandmother character? As a frog with a cape and a pointy hat. and there's like this light coming out of the book with these stars. What does that make you think of? The pointy hat and the cape and the stars. Do you know? Anybody say magic? Does it look like magic maybe coming out of that book? Let's see. Try to remember this page because we might see these characters again. In fact, do you see one of those characters already in the title page? Yep, it's that grandmother character. She's sitting there on this couch. And do you see this little boy sitting right next to her? Do you remember seeing that little boy before? He's the boy on the cover of the book. And look at what's on the floor in that picture. That purple book. Do you think that might be the book that he's reading on the cover? And one more thing. Do you see where this story is taking place? Where are those people? Can you tell?
Library. A library.
You're exactly right. In the library. Good job. Right. So all of these things you know now, and you know them without using any words, right? I can tell you all, I can set the whole stage for this story with just the pictures. But now we'll start with some words. Let's turn the page, and it goes like this. This is just a story. And we'll zoom in here on the boy. Do you see what he's doing now? He's sitting on the floor reading that book. That's right. Did you notice something before I zoomed in on this page that doesn't really belong in that library? Something kind of weird happening here? Look at over here. Did you see that trap door opening? And look who's coming out of that trap door. Who does that look like? A pirate. That's right, a pirate. And it's not just one pirate. It's actually two pirates climbing out of this trap door. And do they look friendly? No, they look a little scary, don't they? So they're looking over at this kid, and it goes, this is just a story about a boy. And do you see something else in this picture that doesn't quite belong in the library?
A tree.
You're right. There's a little tree growing up. Have you ever read a book where a tree grows in a room before? Have you ever read the story Where the Wild Things Are? Do you remember at the beginning when Max goes into his room and the tree grows up and the whole forest grows in his room? That's another book about using your imagination, right? Okay, so what do you think is going to happen to this tree? It grows up. This is just a story about a boy who was almost captured by pirates. And did you notice something up in that tree that shouldn't be there? Look at right up here. Who do you think those claws belong to?
A tiger.
Let's see. That's a great guess. Let me turn the page. It's a lion. That's right, which is like a tiger, right? Except it doesn't have stripes. It has a mane instead. And then he's looking down at those pirates. Do they look scary now? They look kind of surprised, right? What do you think those pirates are going to do when they see the lion?
We're going to catch them.
They're going to run away. Ah, the pirates run away. This is just a story about a boy who was almost captured by pirates and then almost eaten by a lion. Wait a minute. This kid is almost inside the mouth of the lion and he doesn't even see it. How could that be? How does he not know that there's a lion about to chomp him? Let's see what happens when we turn the page. And then almost trampled by a herd of wild elephants. Ah! So the elephants chase the pirates and the lion. And then right before they get to the boy, boom. And then almost stomped on. Who do you think has that giant foot?
Dinosaur. A dinosaur.
That's another great guess. Let's zoom out and find out.
It's a how to make how to draw cartoons, but they have a
It is
cartoon.
a big baby dragon, which is a lot like a dinosaur, right? Except it has spikes and wings. Yeah. And the baby dragon's just about to drool on the little boy. And do you see something else in the sky here coming on? And then almost squished. What do you think that's going to be? Let's find out. Boom! By a belly flopping blue whale. So the blue whale smashes into the floor of the library and everybody goes flying. And there's one more thing up in the sky there. Do you see it coming into this scene? And then we have to turn the book on its side here. Whoop. Almost carried away by an alien with a tractor beam and an Elvis wig flying a spaceship high above the clouds. So everybody's getting drawn up into that spaceship, flying through the air. And then, who do you see on that cloud right there? Do you remember that character? Did we see that character before? Yeah, that's right. That's that frog that was on the back of the book. What is that frog going to do? He's got a magic wand and he's going to, boom! He turns them all into butterflies. Worst of all, so there they all are as butterflies, but worst of all, what's going to happen to that kid? Look at that kid. He's falling. Is that the end of the kid? That'd be a very short book, right? Boom! The frog turns him into a butterfly. That's right. Almost. And what does he do? Kissed! Ah! No! Horrible, right? The worst thing that could possibly happen. This frog tries to kiss this kid. What does the kid do? Think he's going to get kissed? Nope, not quite. The kid closes the book, and the frog looks at what he's done in surprise, and boom, he goes right through the trapdoor. And that's the end of the frog. Actually, there was nothing to worry about. Know why? So the boy walks away with his grandmother and he leaves the book on the couch. And do we see somebody else looking at that book? That little girl is looking at the book right there. Know why? Because this is just a story. So the girl sits down and reads the book, and look at who's coming back into the scene. We've got the pirates and the tree and the frog and the dragon and the alien and the elephants and the lion and the blue whale. So what do you think? Did this story really happen? Or was it all in the kid's imagination? And now it's in this girl's imagination. Yeah, it is. I think it probably is. This might be the story that they're reading in the book, but you get to see it come to life all around them. And then there's the back of that book. And so now you know why that magic is coming out of the book when the grandmother's reading it, because she's getting lost into that story also. And that, my friends, is just a story. Did you enjoy reading that with me? Yeah, awesome. Thanks. Great. Okay, so let's take a break for a minute. I want to talk with you a little bit about how I made this story, but first, I want to hear from you and see if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to make about the story. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask me? Let me stop my screen share for just a second here.
I have one question, Jeff, which is how did you decide to have pirates coming out of the floor of the library?
That's a really good question. Well, I will show you in a minute what was originally going to be coming out of the floor, but I can tell you that I decided on pirates because I wanted to show all the different types of adventure stories that there could be. So like I had the blue whale because it was kind of like an ocean adventure, and the lion because it was kind of like a safari adventure, and the alien to be a sci-fi adventure, and the frog was like a magic, so it was kind of like a Lord of the Rings kind of fantasy adventure. I tried to have lots of different types, and pirates was one thing I didn't have yet when I was writing the story. So I know how much people love pirates, love stories about pirates. They always have, and I think they always will. So I just put a pirate in there. And then I decided it should be more than one, because it would be even scarier if there were two pirates coming after you.
So you knew people love pirates and you love adventures.
Exactly. And I mean, I love pirates too. I love them. I used to dress up like one when I was a kid, as my Halloween costume and that sort of thing. So, you know, I try to remember all the things that I liked when I was a kid and try to put them in my stories. And, you know, I still like all of those things. It's not like you get older and you stop liking all this fun stuff. It's just like sometimes you get busy and you forget to think about that stuff. So one of the nice things about writing books for kids is it gives me a chance to remember all this cool stuff that I like.
We have a question.
Sure.
I liked when the tree came up out of the floor.
Yeah, that's a strange thing, right? Have you ever seen that happen before?
Yep.
You have. That's pretty cool. I can tell you, I haven't seen it come out of a floor, but like when I go to New York City, sometimes I like to see the trees where they have the sidewalk and then they like cut a little hole in the sidewalk and it looks like there's a tree growing out. They save room so that the trees can grow so they don't pave over where they're going to be growing. So it's almost like they're growing right out of the sidewalk in New York. And there was a time when there's a really cool museum in North Adams, Massachusetts, called the Mass MoCA. And when I first went there, they were just starting an experiment. They had these trees hanging upside down with this scaffolding, and that they wanted to see what was going to happen when a tree grows upside down. And sure enough, as they grew, the branches turned and bent and went like a U and then pointed straight up at the sun again, because the trees always want to grow towards the light.
You've seen those before.
I'm glad you like that part of the story.
Yeah, and I've seen those type of trees before.
You have seen that kind of tree? Really? Do you have a lot of trees where you live? Around your house?
Yeah, we live near that museum.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay. So maybe you've seen what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Cool. That's great. That's great. There's so many beautiful trees and hiking trails up there in northwestern Massachusetts. Do you like to go for a hike sometimes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Me too. In fact, a lot of times I think of ideas for stories when I'm out for a hike. Or if I'm writing a story and I can't think of how to solve a problem in the story when I'm writing it, the best thing to do for me is to put the story away and go for a hike in the woods. And when I'm just walking around, it kind of makes me like relaxed and I can think better. And I a lot of times get ideas that way. Would you like to see a little bit about how I made this story?
Yeah.
Does anybody like to write stories themselves? Yeah? And does anybody like to draw? Yeah? You illustrate stories too? No? Well, in a little bit, I thought we could draw together. Would you like to do that? Okay, so let's do this. Let me show you how I came up with this story. And maybe then we can talk a little bit about how you come up with your stories, and then we can do a drawing together. Sound good? Okay, so there's the grandmother character. And the reason this grandmother character is in the story is because mostly of my grandmother. Okay, so when I was a kid, my grandmother used to take me to the library all the time. And this is what the library looked like when I was a little kid in the 1970s. And I used to go to this library with my grandma, and we'd come home with stacks of books. And there's my grandmother, and you can tell what I liked when I was a kid, right? Some dinosaurs. Yep. And this is my dad reading to me and my brother. And my brother has kind of lost interest in the book. He's sort of fallen asleep on my dad's lap there, but I'm still reading the book. So we'd come back with these books, and my dad would read all these to me. Can you tell? This is like early 1970s, a long time ago. Pretty cool mustache there on my dad. And one of my favorite books was this one by Dr. Seuss. It was called On Beyond Zebra. And the thing I loved about this book so much was the way it inspired me to write my own stories. You see, Dr. Seuss, he came up with this imaginary alphabet of all these letters that come after the letter Z. They don't really exist. He just made them up. And then he invented all these weird creatures whose names started with these letters. So this is like Wum is for Wumbus. And I love that. It made me want to write my own alphabet and draw my own characters to go with them. So I made my own books after Dr. Seuss. And that really got me started doing this way back when I was a little kid. So this is a drawing that I did. I think I was in first grade when I did this drawing. And you can see what I liked when I was in first grade, right? I was really into monsters. Does anybody like monsters there? Yeah, I love drawing monsters. I love reading about monsters. I love monster movies. When I was in second grade, I saw this awesome monster movie called Clash of the Titans. And I drew this monster from that movie. Does anybody have a guess what monster that is? This monster has snakes for hair, and she can turn people into stone just by looking at them. Her eyes glow in the dark. This monster's name was Medusa. And Medusa was so scary, I couldn't fall asleep after I saw this movie. And so what I did was I stayed up and I drew these pictures of her. And the more pictures of Medusa I drew, the less afraid I became. So this is actually how I used to fall asleep when I was in second grade, by drawing pictures of Medusa. Pretty weird, right? So flash forward about 40 years now, and I'm down in New York City in a big crowd of people, and I'm going to get on this subway. So I get on the subway, and the train takes off, and I'm sitting there looking at the people on the subway, and across from me is this kid reading a book. And I can tell he's really excited about the book he's reading, because he's not looking up, he's just looking at the book, and all these people are walking around him. And the subway comes to a stop, the doors open up, and then they just get ready to close, and suddenly the boy realizes this is his stop. And he closes the book fast, he jumps to his feet, he runs to the door, but the door closes before he can get out. He missed his stop because he was so excited about this book. So what does he do? He sits down and he reads the book again, and he waits for the next stop, and then he gets off at that stop. But I was watching this happen, and I was thinking, this is a good idea for a story, right? Like, these ideas, they can come from anywhere if you pay attention to them carefully. So I thought, what if in my story, I have a kid who's reading a book, and he doesn't notice all of the things that happen around him in the story, right? So all this stuff is going on, the lion and the pirates and all these characters are coming, and he's so into the book, he doesn't even notice. But then I thought, what if all the things that were going on around him were actually happening in the book that he was reading? So that's where the idea for Just a Story came from. So you can see, originally, this story was going to happen. Well, let me take a break for just a second. Before we go on here, where do you all get your ideas for stories? Does anybody have a good place, a good idea where they can get an idea for a story? Yeah, Liv.
So I decided to draw trucks in my story because I know how much I love trucks. So
Oh, that's great. Yeah, you love trucks, so you write a whole story about trucks?
yeah.
And when you write about something you love, that's just the most fun thing in the world, right? It makes you want to keep writing the story and make it longer and longer. At least that's how it works for me. And you know all about trucks, so you were able to write lots of different things about the trucks in the book?
Yeah, so because I found out that I could see how the truck could be unattached and unattached with a trailer and then a trailer until it had 3 trailers.
Uh-huh. Excellent. 3 trailers. That's cool. Did you illustrate your story also?
Yes.
Very good. Wow. Awesome. And it was fun, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. Great. Let's see. Do we have somebody else? I see someone with their hand up.
Yes.
So I would write about a book like about strawberries because my favorite fruit is strawberries.
Your favorite fruit is strawberries. So you wrote a whole story just about strawberries?
Uh-huh.
What a cool idea. What can you say what happens with the strawberry in the book? Remember?
Goes into a strawberry tree.
Oh, wow. Okay, that sounds great. A tree of strawberries. So, do you know there was a book when I was a kid that I loved that's about a peach that grows into a giant peach. And a kid climbs inside a hole in the peach and he meets all of these creatures inside. Have you ever heard of this book? It's called James and the Giant Peach. Yeah, that was one of my favorite stories when I was a kid. Do you think Roald Dahl, who wrote it, do you think he liked peaches?
Yeah.
Probably, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think so. It's a really fun story, and it sounds a lot like your strawberry growing into a tree story. Okay, shall we keep on going here? Let me show you another thing that I did with this story when I was making it. I'm going to share my screen again. When this story first started, I didn't know where I wanted the story to take place. Okay? Whenever I'm writing a story, it doesn't come out right the first time usually. I have to write the story over and over again, and I add things and I take things away and I change it around each new version that I write. And hopefully it just keeps getting better and better. So when I started out, there was just this boring kind of white background for the characters. And then I decided, well, I wanted this story to actually take place somewhere. So I put the kid in a park. And then I realized I wanted the kid to have somebody with him so that when he was reading, they wouldn't notice the things that were happening around him. So it was kind of like it was a clue that made you think that it might be happening just in the story. And then I decided, well, I wanted a lot of people around him. So originally I was gonna, this story happened to me on a subway. So I decided to put the kid in a subway so there would be lots of people around. And then at this point, I sold this story to the publishing company. And my editor at the publishing company, who helps me with the story, he says to me, why don't you set this story at a library since he's reading a book? And I thought, well, that is the perfect idea. That's the perfect place for this story to happen. So I changed it to a library. So it goes with the book, and I can still have all these different people around, doing different things, not noticing the scary stuff that's happening to the kid. So what you're seeing right now, these are just the sketches for my book. Do you guys know what sketches are? A sketch is like a light drawing that you do with pencil, right? And you do it first before you do your finished painting, because if you want to make changes, it's really easy to change a sketch, but it's hard to change like a finished painting, a finished picture. So I always do my sketches first to make sure they look just right, and then I go ahead and do the pictures. So look at this. This is a very, very early sketch. This is the first sketch I ever did for Just a Story. When I'm writing my books, the first thing I do is I make these little scribbly cartoon characters. I don't worry about details. I don't worry about getting the proportions right or anything like that. I just want to get my idea down on the paper as fast as I can so I don't forget it. Okay, so then this boy opens the book, and can you see what's coming out of the trap door there? It's not a pirate. Originally, it was going to be a monster. And the monster comes out of the story, and he goes over and he's going to tickle the kid. And I thought, well, that's kind of funny, but I think it could be better. So I changed him to the pirates, right? And then look what happens next. A ghost on a skeleton horse comes after him with a lasso. Now, this is like the kind of thing that cowboys use to loop around a runaway cow that they can pull back into the herd. So this looks pretty scary to me. And I didn't want anything like that scary to happen to this kid. So I changed him. You can see in this sketch, the lion gets the lasso around him. But so I got rid of the ghost and the lasso, and I kept the elephants, but I put the elephants on mopeds or motorbikes. And then the foot comes down. Somebody guessed that this was a dinosaur. And that was a really good guess because originally it was going to be a dinosaur in the story. But then I changed him into a dragon because I wanted to have that fantasy part. And then the next thing that comes in is a big tank, and it's going to squish the kid. And I thought, well, this is really too scary for this story. And I don't really like books that are about war and fighting and that kind of thing. So I decided, okay, I'm going to get rid of the tank. No problem at all. We don't need to have that. I changed it to the blue whale, which I thought was much better. And then you can see the tank is getting zapped by the alien. So instead, now the blue whale gets zapped. Originally, instead of one alien, I was going to have like a dozen different aliens, and they were going to be flying on cheeseburgers, and they were going to be using fishing poles to catch the characters. And I thought, well, more fun if it's just one alien and a spaceship, and they can get sucked up into that tractor beam like that. It made for a better picture, I think. And then there was going to be, instead of the frog, a princess who casts a spell, and she's going to give the kid a kiss. And I thought, okay, that's funny, but it could be funnier, I think, if it was a frog. And I made that change, and I think that worked out better too. And then the rest of the book stayed pretty much the same. The frog disappears into the trapdoor. The boy walks away. Another character sees the book and sits down and reads it. And in the sketch, I just have the trapdoor starting to open again. But in the finished book, do you remember what happens at the end? Remember, all the characters come back, right? I thought it would be much more fun to see all those characters than just the trapdoor opening again. So that's how I got the idea for the book. And then the last thing I had to do was come up with the art style. And this is one version of the book, and this is another version of the book. So the first art style I made looked like this, and the second one looked like this. Do you see how much it changed? What kind of differences do you notice between the first style and the second style? Which one looks more like a cartoon? Yeah, in the sparkly blue shirt.
The gray one.
The gray one looks a little more cartoonish, right? So I thought with this one, there's a lot of detail and a lot of stuff going on here. And even though I like the way this picture looks, some of the other pictures got really confusing with lots of detail in there. I wanted to make sure that you saw just the stuff that you needed to see to get this story. It needed to have this very fun, light feeling. So that's why I made it more like a cartoon. Do you remember this book right here that I was talking about, On Beyond Zebra? Look how simple Dr. Seuss makes these drawings, right? He doesn't fill every little part with detail. He has lots of blank space, lots of solid colors, lots of places for your eye to kind of rest Your eye gets busy looking at some of the details, but in other places, it doesn't have to pay attention to that much stuff. I think that's a nicer way to draw. So even though I like this picture, I found that doing it in this cartoonish style made it easier to tell the story, and it worked better on every single page in the book. Yeah. Okay. And then where did I get the idea for the grandmother? Do you remember where I said I got the idea at the beginning? You remember? Anybody remember? Go ahead and say it if you can, if you remember.
From your grandma.
From my grandma, that's right. I tried drawing lots of different versions of this character, and then I found this photo of my grandma, and that inspired me to use her character, to use the way she looked. I liked like kind of the puffy white hair and the glasses and the sweater that she's wearing. And so that picture inspired the way I drew. So she doesn't look exactly like my grandma, but she has some of the details that are in this picture of my grandma. And then for the kid on the front of the book, where do you think I might have gotten the inspiration, the idea for this kid? Anybody know? Anyone want to take a guess?
When you were a kid.
That's exactly right. Very good. Look at this picture. That's a picture of me when I was a kid. And I don't look exactly like the kid in the story, but do I look happy there in that picture? Happy to get, do you know what time of year that was that I took that picture was taken? This was taken at Christmas. That was a Christmas present from Santa for me. And you think I was pretty excited about that? I was pretty excited to get that game, yes. And so I like the excitement of that picture, and I wanted the cover of my book to have the same kind of excitement. Do you think it has that kind of excitement? I think it worked out. I think it did. Yeah. Okay, and that is pretty much all I want to say about just the story, unless anybody has any other questions that they would like to ask me.
How did you draw the boy?
How did I draw the boy? That's a great question. The way I drew the boy, the first thing I did was I drew the boy on paper. This is not the boy, this is an elephant. But I drew on paper with a marker, and I drew lots and lots of different versions of the boy. And then when I got the one that I wanted, then I went and I used a tool like this. And this is a little tablet that comes with a pen, and it connects to my computer. And I can draw on the tablet, and the drawing goes into my computer. So I first drew the boy on paper, and then afterwards I drew him on the computer, once I knew the way I wanted him to look. Yeah. So always start with a sketch. For me, that's the best way to go. And then do the finished drawing after that. Right now, I'm in my studio. And let's see. I don't know if I can. Let me see if I can share my studio with you. It's pretty messy, I'll tell you that. But that's the computer. Can you see that computer right there? That's the computer that I like to draw on. And then over on this side of the room, do you see that thing behind the plastic right there? That is like a giant screen that comes with a pen, and I can draw on that screen, and the drawings go into the computer also. And I haven't been using it for a little while because I'm working in a different way right now, so I have plastic on it. But this is my studio. It's big, and I share my studio with a jeweler, someone who makes jewelry, and you can see that's her part of the studio over there. She makes her jewelry over there on that side. Well, how about we draw? Everybody want a good drawing? All right. So what I'm gonna do, I thought it would be easier than trying to like go and draw on the wall or draw on a piece of paper, because it might be hard for everybody to see. I'm gonna draw on that little tablet that I showed you before, so that I can share my screen and I can share the drawing with you, and then you can draw along with me if you want. If you have paper or pencil, you don't need a computer to do this, right? You can do it on paper and pencil. I'm just gonna use my computer to share it with you. Does everybody see a white screen? And let me make sure that I have the right brush. I do. Okay, So do you see a little cursor moving around on that white screen? If I go like this, do we see some squiggles? Okay. So I'm going to start out by drawing. What I want to do is I want to draw the dragon from Just a Story. I thought that would be a fun thing to do together. And it's probably my favorite character in the story. And, as you know, it can be hard to do a drawing if you try to do the whole thing at once, right? But if you do the drawing slowly, step by step, that makes it much easier to do the drawing. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to draw this step by step. In fact, I'm going to make it even easier. Some people think drawing is really hard to make the motions with your hand, but actually signing your name or writing your name is more complicated than doing a drawing. It takes more motions to write your name than to do a drawing. So if you can write letters of the alphabet, then you'll be able to do this drawing. And with this drawing, I just want to use a few letters and one number. So I'm going to write them right up here. The letters we're going to use are C, O, U, T, I, W, J, V, one more, M, and then the number is 2. Pretty good, right? We can all do those, I'm guessing. And then we're going to have a little dot in there too. So maybe it's like the dot over the I. Okay, so here's what we'll do. The first thing I'll do, I'll come down here to somewhere around the middle of the page, and I'm going to write that letter C, and it's just going to look like this. When I was a kid, I loved these books by Ed Emberley, and they were drawing books, and they showed you how to draw these big, complicated scenes, like with castles and knights and dragons and catapults, but they showed you how to do them by drawing one shape at a time. So it made it much easier to do these complicated scenes if you just did one line and then the next. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take that C and we're going to turn it on its side so that the C points, the 2 points of the C are pointing down. And it's going to go like this. And these 2 parts we can kind of connect there. So what I've just drawn, this right here, this is the dragon's nose, and that's going to be the top of his head. If you look at it sideways, it's kind of like the number 3, isn't it? Okay. Right here inside the head, I'm going to write the letter O, and it's going to go just like this. What do you think that is? Anybody guess?
The eye.
The eye, that's right. So what do we need to put inside the eye so we know it's an eye? The dot, right? Let's draw a dot right in the eye right here. Now it starts to come to life. We know it's a character. Let's take the U and draw it right here. I'm going to draw one part of the U right here, and that's going to go around and it's going to come up just like that. We'll connect a little bit of the C to that U. That is the mouth of the dragon. If we want to give the dragon some nostrils, we could do a couple little O's right here. Same letter O. Okay, and then I'm going to draw the eye. Now, the eye is going to be like a capital I. It's going to be like this, right? Not a lowercase I, but a capital I. So this line right here is going to touch the bottom of his mouth like that. And then this line's going to come down. That's kind of like his neck. And then the bottom of the eye is going to go like this. And let's make that nice and long like that. And then let's make one more lowercase I right here. So I'm leaving this space in between those 2. What do you think that might be? This right here, this is his arm. And if I want to draw some claws at the end of that arm, I can draw the W on its side. So one part of the W is going to touch here. It's going to come down. It's going to go over, back, and up like that. See how that's the letter W? But it's also his claw. So it's kind of like he's going to be holding something. Can anybody think of something we might want to have this dragon holding?
The baby bottle.
The baby bottle, sure. Okay, so I'll just draw that real quick. You don't have to add that if you don't want to, but I'll just add it right here like this.
Looks like a big toy.
You can have your dinosaur holding anything you want. There we go. There's the baby bottle. Maybe a little arm there so it looks like he's got two arms. Okay, great idea. So now let's come down here, and instead of the number 2 going this way, I'm going to draw the 2 backwards. It's going to go like this. Okay? Like a backwards 2. So I'm going to go like this. And then the bottom of the 2. So it's kind of like a C and an I. And this right here, that's his leg. That's the bottom of his foot. If I draw another line like that, another lowercase I, that's the bottom, that's the top of his foot, that's the bottom of his foot, and another W in between.
That's the knee.
And he's got a foot. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Give me a thumbs up if you're doing all right. Okay, great. It's not too hard, right? We're taking this nice and slow. We'll come up with something good here. So let's do a backwards C right at the back of his foot. And we'll connect the bottom to the bottom of his foot. So that's like his heel. Okay. And then let's draw that letter J. Right now, we're going to draw the J backwards. So I've drawn it this way. It's actually going to go like this. And I'm going to start right up here, way back at the top of the head. And it's going to be one line. And it goes down and up like that. So that's the back of the dragon. And this is his tail. To finish the tail, I'm going to come up and I'm going to take my U and I'm going to draw from the tip of the tail to the back of the foot the letter U, just like that.
I want to make a 3-headed dragon.
You got a 3-headed dragon?
I want to
Cool. Wow. And you did it fast too, huh?
make one.
Okay, so what are we missing? With it, this looks like a dinosaur, right? If we wanted to stop right here, we could call it a baby dinosaur. But if we want to make it a dragon, we need a few more things. What else can we add to this? Anybody have any suggestions? Yes, in the yellow sweater.
Spikes.
Spikes.
And wings.
And wings. 2 great suggestions. So let's do the spikes first. That's going to be the letter V. Okay, and we'll do it like this. It's going to be upside down V's, where the 2 tips of the V touch the side of the dragon's back. And you can just make as many spikes as you want on your dragon. There's no special number you need to have. There we go. And then what we're saying, what else do we need? Some wings, right? So let's do this. Let's come right up here, maybe between these 2 spikes, and I'm going to draw the letter V again, and it again is going to be upside down, and it's going to go like this. See how that's an upside down V? And then inside, I'm going to do the M. We'll make it a lowercase m like that, and we'll go like this. So upside down V, lowercase m. and one line to connect this point of the V with the middle of the M. And there's a wing. What do you think? What else could we have? Do we want to have any other details on this dragon? Yes, let's see, I can't see everybody, so let's see who else has. Mary, can you see some people who have hands up?
It looks like Leaf in the blue shirt.
Leave, okay.
We could make it so it's breathing out fire.
Oh, what a good idea. Okay, so let me show you the dragon breathing out fire. Maybe that needs to be red too, huh? So luckily on my computer, I have a way of choosing different colors. So I can add a little color to that. So what I can do is add another layer here, and then I can color it in underneath the red, or underneath the line. And I won't color over my line. It's kind of like coloring in a coloring book, right? Anybody else have an idea of what I could have? He's kind of melting this bottle, isn't he? Maybe he's making hot chocolate.
Maybe we can add a little smoke for the fire.
That's a good idea. Okay, so what color should I do the smoke?
Brown.
Brown smoke, sounds good. So brown is kind of like a dark orangish yellowish color.
Black.
Yeah, we could do black too. Yeah, let's see. Maybe let's start with this. Maybe we'll make it a couple of colors. Maybe we'll have the smoke coming out of his nostrils. What do you think? Does that look like smoke?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Anything else?
What do you want to say? Let's say it out.
I think it should have horns.
Horns. That's a cool idea too. So let's go back up to my drawing part and I'll choose some black and we'll put some horns here. Like if I did this, it'd be like a unicorn horn, right?
Yeah.
Is that the kind of horn that you mean?
No.
No, that's not what you're talking about?
Unicorn horn.
No unicorn horn. Okay, let's see. What kind of horn? How about, let's see.
The ones like the pine. The one that's Look at I.
Like a horn like this and like this?
Look at I is my horn.
Those look pretty good. Do we make stripes on them like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Half unicorn, half cow horns? Okay, or goat horns. All right, anybody else have another thing that we might want to add?
I do.
Let's see if anybody
Okay,
else has
go ahead. Go ahead. Is it somebody in Rachel's window who'd like to add something?
It is.
All right.
Maybe we can like add a little like maybe like do some stripes on the dragon.
Wow, that's a cool idea. Stripes on the dragon. So are you saying maybe we want to put like a striped shirt on the dragon?
Uh-huh.
Like a sweater, a striped sweater?
Yeah.
I love that idea. So
We'll
let
just
me,
get fire on it.
yeah, that's right. We don't want to get too warm with the fire. Let's try, what color stripes should we do? I can choose like any
Maybe pink because I like the color pink.
Yeah, me too. I think that's my favorite color these days. So let's do pink. That's a good bright pink right there. So we can do a few colors, but let's do a stripe like that, a stripe like that, that.
Why would I do a sweater?
Keep him warm. Or her warm.
Okay, so there's some pink. And then should we choose one more color for the stripes? What's one more color we could add? Say that again.
Maybe blue.
Blue, sure.
Blue.
Like a light blue to go with the light pink.
Yeah.
Let's try that.
And the person in Leaves window is really wanting to ask something too. Or suggest.
Okay, sounds good. Leave, why don't you go ahead and ask what you would like to add while I'm coloring the blue stripes here.
I would like to add the wing to have dots.
Dots on the wings, sounds good. What color dots would you like to see?
Green.
Green, okay, you got it. Let's do sort of like a dark green. Like this? Am I doing it right, Leave?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, I think that really helps. That's a nice improvement. This is looking good, you guys. Okay, let's see. What else? We have somebody with a green and white striped shirt.
I think that's you, buddy. Go ahead.
I want to like a little I want to add the googly north googly
Nostrils?
yeah googly. I want to add a googly paw.
A googly part?
Yeah, a googly paw.
A
Okay,
googly
and
part. What would a googly part? Like a googly eye?
Is that what you were thinking of?
No, a googly pot. A googly paw.
Something else that's googly?
He meant like a googly pot.
That's,
Like any part of the dragon.
that might be tricky. Liz, what's your idea, honey?
I wanted to add some pants.
Some pants. Sure, we can do some pants. What color pants do you think we should add? And can they be googly pants?
Googly
Sure.
pants, that's good.
Blue.
Blue pants. So like googly jeans, maybe.
And
Okay.
one thing that I'm noticing is that not everybody watching likes all of the color ideas, and maybe they have some of their own ideas.
Absolutely.
Actually kind of a fun part, because since everyone has made their own drawing, they can decorate them the way they want to and add the details they want.
I decided to make these pants pajama bottoms. So we're gonna put little.
So there's someone in Rachel's window who might have some of her own ideas about what should, and they might be different ideas. I'm not sure.
Okay. Somebody in Rachel's window, would you like to make a suggestion or say what you would like?
Or maybe have a different idea.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we could color the horns like maybe yellow.
That's a good idea. Some yellow horns. Okay, so let me grab some yellow here. You know what I'm wondering? Where are we going to put this dragon? Remember how in my story, I started out with just a white background? I feel like in this story, it might be nice if we put this dragon someplace. And to do that, we might want to add something in the background. Does anybody have a suggestion? Yeah.
Like a forest?
Oh, what a good idea. A forest. So how would we show a forest? If you were drawing this, what would you add?
Maybe like a couple trees, maybe like a bush or something.
A couple trees?
Do it like a castle.
And a castle. Okay, sounds good. So let me start with the trees, and I'll do these like in green here, and we'll just go like this in the background, and we'll do some pine trees. I feel like this dragon might live in a piney forest. I'm just scribbling these in real quick, right? Because
yeah,
too long.
Yeah, in a minute, we're going to be really interested to see everyone else's drawings too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you guys want to just add any of your last details to your drawings, we'll ask you to share them in a minute, and that will be really fun.
Is everybody happy with their drawings so far? The people who I can see, I can tell you're working really hard on these, and it looks like you're having a good time. I'm really curious to see what you've done. Let me add a gray castle in the background, and then we'll check out what you've done. Put the castle back here.
I wouldn't even know how to make a castle. He's making a castle here.
Okay, that's not too bad. You know it's a castle, right? Maybe if we add a couple like little darker, let's add a dark thing for the door, a couple of windows here. Looks like a face. Let's add a third one. Looks like an alien face. Okay. Anything else? Are we done? Do we want to share some of our drawings? I'd love to see what other people have drawn. Would you like to do that? One thing I think is really cool is we're all kind of doing the same drawing, but each of you has your own style, right? Your own way of drawing. And so your drawing looks different than other people's, even though it's a picture of the same thing and you can tell what it's a picture of, a dragon in a forest. It doesn't look like something that anybody else could have drawn, because no matter how it always is going to come out in your style. That's just the way you draw. And that's what's so good about being an artist, right? That's really important. You want your own personal style to come through in your work. And I can tell it does there. That's a great drawing. Nice job. Awesome. Hey, give yourselves a round of applause. Nice job, everybody. Well, I think we're just about out of time. I wanted to say thank you so much for joining me here today. You all did a fantastic job listening to the story. You had great questions, great suggestions. I love doing the drawing with you. You did an amazing job on your drawings. And I'm hoping that if you enjoyed working on this drawing, that you're going to keep on drawing after this and keep working on your own. And maybe come up with your own stories, and you can use your drawings to illustrate those stories too. Because, you know, the best kinds of stories are the ones where the pictures and the words work together to tell that story. So if you can do both, you're going to be doing awesome. Mary, would you like to say anything else before we finish up?
I would. I just, Jeff, on behalf of all of the audience and everyone at the Norman Rockwell Museum, we are so grateful that you joined us today, and we love your stories and we love your ideas, and this was so much fun.
Thank you. I had a good time too. It was really fun being here. Thanks for inviting me, and thanks everybody for showing up and drawing with me.
Yeah, we are so grateful. And I also just wanted to say to all of you out there that at the Norman Rockwell Museum, every picture that we show on the wall is a picture that tells a story. And we would love for you to come and see what is on the walls at the museum anytime. We're still opened. And if you are nearby, you can come see us. Or you can visit our virtual museum for lots of other programs with wonderful people like Jeff.
Maybe someday we'll be all able to see each other in person. Maybe I'll be doing a reading of my next book, and it will be right there in front of you in person. We can do some more drawing together.
Yeah, that's right. And in the meantime, Jeff's books are in libraries and at stores, and you can learn a lot more about him online. And so that's fun too. And so we hope you have a really good rest of the day, and we're really glad that you took the time to be with us now. And
thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.